you ever watched a horror film and wondered to yourself, how did they find the locations for these horror movies? Was the location they chose really haunted? Was the story true? Or even better, did anything strange happen when they filmed the movie? Well, today, you'll find out on the top 10 most haunted film locations. Number 10, The Innkeepers. This film is about two employees of the once great Yankee Peddler Inn. Both Claire and Luke are ghost enthusiasts who have an interest in the hotel's paranormal activity. Years prior, a bride named Madeline O'Malley hung herself after her husband-to-be didn't want to follow through with the wedding. The hotel's owners hid her body in the basement where it remains today. Claire is warned not to go into the basement, but of course she does the opposite and has to deal with the consequences. Most of the film was shot in the actual historic Yankee Peddler Inn based in Torrington, Connecticut. On the set, there was numerous cases of paranormal activity like lights flickering, doors opening and closing, and phones randomly ringing with no one on the other line. Number 9, The Nun. This film was a prequel to The Conjuring and takes place in a monastery in Romania. The film starts with two nuns, one who was killed by an evil entity and the other commits suicide from fear of being next. The Vatican sends Father Björk and Sister Irene to investigate. They soon discover the monastery was the home of Saint Carta, who was obsessed with the occult and summoned a demon. Father Björk and Sister Irene must find a way to stop the demon before it kills the both of them. Even though the set was blessed by a Romanian Catholic priest, the director, Corin Hardy, had many terrifying experiences during the filming in the castle. He claimed to see two apparitions while walking into a room. Two men were sitting at a table. He looked away, and when he looked back to speak to them, they were gone. This room had one doorway, and he was standing in it. Number 8, Poltergeist. Poltergeist was a film I grew up on. Carol Ann, the youngest child, begins talking to a static television. The family starts to notice strange occurrences happening throughout the house. Carol Ann's parents, Diane and Stephen, invite a parapsychologist over who explains to them that their house was built over an old cemetery and they have a poltergeist. Soon after, Carol Ann is lured into a portal through the television, and it's up to her parents to get her back and to get rid of the poltergeist. Poltergeist was filmed in Agora Hills and was said to be cursed after director Steven Spielberg and Tobe Hooper decided to use real skeletons in the movie. There were multiple deadly accidents that occurred on set, as well as deaths from crew and actors. Dominique Doon was strangled to death by her ex-boyfriend soon after the release of the movie. Will Sampson died from a kidney transplant. Julian Beck died from stomach cancer, and Heather O'Rourke died from septic shock at the age of 12. Number 7, The Possession. Em is the youngest child of a divorcing couple. She finds a mysterious box at a yard sale and becomes obsessed with it.
Where's my box?
I got rid of it, Em.
A voice inside the box speaks to her and attacks anyone who tries taking it from her. Her father, Clyde, finds out the box contains a powerful spirit and tries taking it from her. She is called back to it, and it soon possesses her. Now the family, along with the help of a rabbi, have to do an exorcism before it's too late. This film is based on a true story, with shots filmed in British Columbia at the Riverview Hospital, a former mental institution. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays Clyde, admits seeing phenomenon like lights exploding, cold drafts, and strange atmospheric changes. One thing that stood out the most was the storage room holding all the props burned to the ground without any explanation. Number 6, The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
I sat up till after midnight studying the Roman ritual, thinking about what lay ahead.
In The Exorcism of Emily Rose, the story is told by Father Richard Moore, who performed the exorcism of Emily, a 19-year-old college student. Father Moore is on trial for her death, for which he is charged with homicide. The courts insist medical reasons caused her death, leaving him to prove his case with a recording of the exorcism, his descriptions, and the events of those involved in the trial. During the filming, cast members reported TVs and radios turning on and off by themselves late in the night. In fact, Jennifer Carpenter, the woman who played Emily, claimed her radio would turn on at 3 a.m. nightly. playing the course of Alive by Pearl Jam. Number 5, The Omen, a film about a married couple whose baby dies and they decide to adopt a child from a mother who died during childbirth. The child's name is Damien, and as he gets older, bad things seem to always happen around him.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
His father, Robert, is warned by Father Brennan that his son is the Antichrist and will eventually kill his parents and their unborn child. He is in disbelief, but is convinced something needs to be done after witnessing numerous tragedies. Trouble seemed to follow people involved with the filming of this movie. Gregory Peck's plane was struck by lightning on his way to London. The producer, Mace Newfield's plane was also struck on the way to LA. David Seltzer's, the writer, his plane was also struck by lightning. Even more, Harvey Bernard was almost struck by lightning in Rome. The animals used in the filming were extremely aggressive and constantly attacked their trainers. A day after filming, the zookeeper of the location was killed by a lion. The worst of all, the special effects director, John Richardson, and his assistant, Liz Moore, were in a car accident. Richard survived, but Moore was decapitated, similar to the scene in the movie. Number 4, Rosemary's Baby. The story follows a young couple, Guy and Rosemary, who move into a historic apartment building called the Bramford. They meet 2 elderly neighbors, Minnie and Roman, who are oddly interested in them. The couple decides they want a baby, and on the night she was to conceive, Rosemary is drugged and hallucinates about being raped by a demonic presence. Throughout her pregnancy, strange things happen, and she realizes she can't trust anyone. After the film was released, 3 tragedies occurred. Christoph Koda, the composer of the film, fell off a steep slope, slipped into a coma, and eventually died. Producer William Castle was stricken with severe kidney stones after receiving tons of hate mail. In the hospital, he was heard screaming, "Rosemary, for God's sake, drop the knife!" He barely recovered from the incident. Lastly, Roman Polanski, the director, and his wife, Sharon Tate. Tate hung around the set during filming, cultivating an obsession with the occult. While the film was still in theaters, Tate and her unborn child were murdered by the Manson family. Number 3, the Amityville Horror.
Ronald DeFeo Jr. was serving 25 years to life at the Sullivan Correctional Facility. He was convicted in the shooting deaths of his parents, 2 sisters, and 2 brothers inside their home in 1974.
The movie follows a family that moved into the same house. George, Kathy, and her children, Greg, Matt, and Amy, began to experience strange things in the house. A priest, Father Delaney, came by to bless the house and was forced out by a demonic presence. George is affected the most by the entity as he becomes angry and wakes up every night at 3:15 and sneaks away to the boathouse. The family began to realize something is wrong with him, but it may be too late. Both movies used houses that were made to look like the original home of the incident because police would not allow them to use it. James Brolin, from the original film, said his pants mysteriously fell off their hanger in his hotel room while he was reading the script. In the remake, Ryan Reynolds had the same experience of waking up at 3:15 every morning, just as the character in the film. There was also a body discovered near the boathouse from the film. Number 2, The Conjuring. Released in 2013 and based on a true story, we follow the Perrin family who move to a farmhouse in Rhode Island. Roger, Carolyn, and their 5 daughters immediately experience paranormal activity when they move in. Clock stopping nightly at 3:07, Carolyn waking up to bruises, and the dog randomly dying. An exorcism must be performed to save the family as well as the Warrens. Vera Farmiga, who plays Lorraine Warren, found 3 digital claw marks on her laptop and later noticed 3 claw marks on her leg in the form of a bruise. Joey King, the actress who played Cindy, also found bruises on her despite never having any injuries on set. Number 1, Annabelle. Released in 2014, Annabelle is the story of a couple, John and Mia Form, who purchase a vintage porcelain doll for their future daughter's nursery. The same night, Their neighbor's daughter and boyfriend, who are involved in a cult, attack her parents. They then enter the Form's home and attack them, but they are saved by the police, who end up shooting the boyfriend. The neighbor's daughter kills herself with the porcelain doll in her hands. John Form gets rid of the doll, and they move into a new apartment, but the doll follows them there. The director, John Leonetti, found 3 finger marks on a dusty window, similar to the demon in the film who has 3 fingers and talons. A more peculiar incident happened when the actor who played the demon was walking down a hallway with the actor who played the janitor. A light fixture fell onto the janitor's head. This was the same hallway in the film where the demon kills the janitor. Thank you everybody for joining me for the top 10 most haunted film locations. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And if you want to see more content from me, scripts, your guy, Mr. Classic Kills, Mr. Top 10, then leave a message, comment. Let me know if there's anything you would like to see, any locations, any films, horror films that you would like to see the top 10 kills for, or just anything that's a top 10. You know, like I'm there, I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Just let me know. And don't forget, like, subscribe, share, all those great things, because it helps the channel, it helps the page, and I'm very appreciative to everyone that does those things, because my channel has been growing and growing and growing and growing, and I'm thankful. So until next time, peace.